Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have on Scorpion Child's lead singer, Aryn. How are you doing, man?
I'm good.
He's
Thanks for having.
called. Oh, you're welcome. Calling from Texas, so he's a little bit cold today. It's a little bit of a change of weather down there. So let's start. I read that you guys broke up, that you didn't break up. I've heard little ramblings back and forth. Obviously, you guys are together. What's the
Yep.
status now? I mean, kind of jump into a little bit because it's a little discombobulated as a fan. I just can listen to music, but what I'm saying, the history is kind of off.
Yeah. So we, after a heavy touring bit ended in 2016, everybody kind of went and did their own thing for a bit. And Chris and I, we wanted to continue the band. Chris is no longer actually in the band currently, but everybody just kind of went their separate ways, and we had to take a break because we didn't have a band. That's really what it came down to. I mean, everyone's all still friends
That's the most
from
important part.
so yeah, it is important, and it usually never happens that way historically. So that was very interesting. I think that um we just got tired. Everybody was doing a lot and having to work jobs and come back and pick up the pieces kind of thing and then go back out 6 months out of the year. It just took its toll on some people. Where a few of us were ready to keep doing it, like we loved it. And I think it was just a time for us to take a break. And I guess we just kind of split up the band. We briefly got it back together in 2018 and it was kind of some of the original members
Hmm.
came back, and we played a couple of shows, and I think after that we were ready to just kind of call it again until the time was right. And I'm sure it confused a lot of our fans. Yeah, it
Because I read a
definitely.
line you guys broke up. I was like, oh man, I figured there'd be a new album coming out. And then I saw again recently that you guys are together again. I was like, wait, I gotta talk to him. I gotta get these guys on. I gotta figure this out.
Yeah, so to kind of clear it up, we recently, what was it, about 7 or 8 months ago or something, bad. I think we started rehearsing again, and then we had a new lineup. I brought my Swedish friend Jonas Wickstrand in on drums because he lives here. He doesn't live in Sweden anymore. So I brought him in to play drums, and when we got back together in 2018, we added a new bass player. He was like a 27-year-old kid, really, really good kid. Looks like Kurt Cobain. So we're like, you're in the band. So we brought him in. So we brought him back this time around, and he brought one of his friends, which he was like, I swear this is like the best guitar player I've ever played with. This guy's incredible. So give him a shot. So we gave him a shot, and the kid was incredible. So now it's myself and Asa Savage, who were both the founding members of the band 16 years ago.
Okay.
And so it's us old guys, and then like a bunch of like young 30s guys, late 20s, 30s guys. So we started rehearsing, and it was like, yeah,
Gotta
this
go.
is what we're talking about. It felt better than, and maybe it was also a timing issue. It just felt better than it did when we tried to restart it a few years back. So all in all, the band, I guess, is more or less, as far as the fans are concerned, has been on hiatus since 2016
Okay.
because no one really knew we did was just local stuff here.
How long were you guys playing as a original band now before you got the first album?
Well, Asa and I played in the first 4 years. We were the founding members for the first 4 years, and then he left, and that's when we brought in Chris Coward, and then thereafter got a record deal with Nuclear Blast, and then started touring, and
So
so it took us about 4 or 5 years. I mean, we did some tours in the early days too, but they were just like, get in the van, sleep on the floor, you know, hang out at your friend's house till 6 in the morning and go to the next town. But that's when we really started. Like I think we went on tour with Clutch pretty much right out of the gate. And
Wow.
then we Mayhem Festival. We did the whole run of Mayhem. And then we went out with Cadaver from Germany. We actually took them on their first US tour where both bands, the Germans and us, hopped in one tiny bandwagon and toured the US. And we had our support was Mothership, Gypsy Hawk, and a band from Michigan called Wilson. That was interesting. So that was the beginning of when we started touring, and then we started going to Europe and actually spent more time playing over there than we did in the US. All the way up until, did a bunch of festivals and here and overseas.
Europe loves rock all the time. They're pretty loyal.
Say it again.
Europe is pretty loyal to rock and roll. It's they've been loyal the whole way through, better than in the USA through the rough times. A lot of bands have survived because of Europe.
Correct. I mean, I would love to go back over there tomorrow. I mean, unfortunately, so many tours are getting rescheduled and canceled now, even since they've been rescheduled twice. It's a mess. So somewhere in the next few years, hopefully we'll get into the queue and be able to do another tour.
Then there's Brexit too. That's gonna be a whole nother thing too.
And there's Brexit, yeah. So we have a lot of fans in the UK, and they fill us in constantly. There was actually a noise rock band. I guess noise rock is what you would call it. A band that I had called Acid Roulette, which was me, bass player, and my roommate played drums in that band. And we had an older guy, he was like in his 60s, play guitar, and he's just like a noise rock legend here in Austin. So we formed a band just before COVID and put out a record under a British private press, like noise rock label.
Yeah. And
that LP was like a woodshedding for doing Scorpion Child again. And just basically like kind of the 60, yeah, the guy Steve left, and then COVID happened, and so that bands just ended pretty much during that. Well, what are we going to do? We're not going to play a show. So that's when we started to go, why don't we add some of this like more chaotic stuff into Scorpion Child? And we started woodshedding for that, and then bringing Asa back into the mold. He wanted to do more of this like dark wave kind of thing that we originally wanted to do when we started the band. We were like the Cult and Sisters of Mercy, all these bands, but there wasn't really a scene for it with the people that we knew. Everybody was doing rock and roll, so we're like, well, we like rock and roll too.
Yeah.
And the Cult merged rock and new wave, dark wave kind of stuff. So now we're able to do that again. So now we're doing that plus this more intense swirl of, ethereal chaos.
Wow.
And keeping it as Judas Priest and Scorpions as you possibly can at the same time.
Well, here's the funny thing. I don't usually need a full bio of a band like that. I usually know a lot. This is one of the one few bands I really just couldn't. I just didn't have all that information. So this is an anomaly for me.
Well, thanks for spreading it.
Yeah,
you'll let people know that we exist.
Well, that's the whole thing. I mean, I came across you guys a while back, and actually, you talking about Scorpions. I was pulling up Scorpions, and then your band came up in one of the lists. So I was like, oh, this has a cool name, and I literally checked you guys out, and then after that, the second album, and that was my gateway was actually just the name.
I mean, by all means, like it wasn't because of the Scorpions that we named our band that, but we obviously do love very, very much love the Scorpions. I mean, how can you not? Like the first,
I agree with you.
They're just unbelievable, and we definitely strive to be that tight and have never achieved that. So we're continuing to try to. I mean, it's a really good. I mean, is it not just a great? Because we love like progressive rock. We love classic British style heavy metal, and they were Germans with the kraut thing. I mean, we love all that stuff.
We call the rock. I mean, I think they had different levels too, different layers of different time periods. I love them all. I mean, I love the Tokyo Tapes period. This is so ridiculously awesome. You know, to
Yeah,
the '80s rock sound, and then their newer sound. I mean, I like all
yeah,
different versions of them, but
yeah. I mean, they evolved quite
they
a
have.
bit.
I'm looking forward to the new album. That's the thing. So, like I said, the name was a good thing because, like I said, brought me into it.
Yeah,
If I thought about that, if I prior to any of my podcasts, I would call myself like the Van Laughing Monkey, some kind of crazy podcast name that
yeah.
would do
Correct.
it. You got some crazy pipes, man. You really can just go insane when you sing.
Well, I mean, it goes back to that inspiration. Like we were talking about, like bands like Lucifer's Friend, Judas Priest,
Mhm.
Scorpions. Yeah, I mean, these guys had pipes. So like I've got to try to strive to do that, and I'm interested in so many different voices too. Like on this album, I'm trying to also integrate in like the lower gothier singing too,
Oh, really?
and it's interesting to be able to like combine those. It's fascinating because it's like, wow, what? I want to, like as a listener, you want to listen to your stuff like how what you would want to hear in a band. You want to be able to like create that somehow. So we're just doing our best job with that as far as that goes.
Well, the thing is, like, with you have two albums out now. I mean, and they're full on. Usually, like when you hear a band and you first see them, they're usually like, "I like that album's pretty good," or "This album's good." I mean, your first album just sounds like you had been a band. Like it was like you'd be like you're playing forever. You guys were so tight. It's a loud, rambunctious album right out of the gate. I mean, it feels like you guys were tight to begin with, and that's why I asked how long you've been together because it just felt like a really powerful first album. And the second one, the same. You know what I mean? There's no dead spots in them.
The second one, bear in mind, we had three different member. We changed three different guys every time. We always change like three guys. It seems like so that that dynamic. I would have thought the sound would have actually changed that
What?
much more.
Yeah.
Changing those, instead of two guitar players on the second one, we had a key player and a guitar player, but not two guitar players. And now we're back to two guitar players again with no key player. Well, me kind of doing like some noisy, like you
Right.
know, some like you know, um, patching and weird noisy stuff. But I'm by no means like a piano player or anything. So I think that we are back to how we originally presented ourselves, but we're able to like now expand on the vision and do things that we wanted to do early on. For those that are or are not familiar with the band.
Well, being your voice though, that is one of the parts that helps keep it together for the consistency, and so being loud and powerful, it definitely makes it a linear line. Your vocals. So, are you guys still signed with Nuclear? Are you? What are you guys doing
I,
now for the album?
I mean, they have it. It's weird because I just sent Monty Connor the new song, and he says he likes it, but he's going to sit with it for a while, which probably means he's going to pass it around. The label's gone through immense changes. I think they have new ownership, and there's a lot of people that left that we knew
Yeah.
and had relationships with at the label. So it's kind of like in limbo right now. Um, I mean, I need to know because we're ready to make a record.
Right.
So I need an answer here. Thanks for reminding me. I need an answer here within the next week as to how we're going to move forward. Because I'm already making relationships with booking agencies again, trying to get things going. And I'm going to need an answer from those guys so I can know what we have to do in order
Otherwise,
to
gonna reach out somewhere else.
yeah, I mean, I don't think that they want us to not be a band anymore. I think that they would rather, I mean, not whether they're going to take the option I think it was. I have to go back and look at the. I think we did 2 albums, and then there was like an option. So this would be the third album. So I don't know. I mean, I don't have any. I don't. I'm not opposed to. Cheers, by the way. To to doing another album with them. I just need communication.
Either way, yeah. Well, it's been a weird industry lately too, with the whole with COVID and everything releasing, not releasing. Nobody knows what to do. Everything's been totally restructured. So
It's, I don't even. We're trying to still find where we fit into the. To the musical environment, which is exciting for me because we're bringing something new, but still bringing the same. So I feel like in the process of all that of COVID and everything, I mean, it changed so much that that we had brought us back together.
so have you been when you're playing out at all? Have you tested any of these songs out with an audience or just rehearsal? The new stuff.
Yeah, we have a show. We have a couple local shows here. We have a show coming up February 26th. Yeah, 26th. And then we have 2 South by Southwest performances in the 17th and the 19th of March.
So are those are the debut of those songs, or have they been played out?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to do old stuff. We're going to do new stuff.
No, I mean, have
Mid,
people have fans heard some of your new stuff yet? Have you gotten feedback from fans that heard the old stuff outside of the band?
they're about to hear the new
Oh,
stuff.
so no one's heard it yet. So this is kind of exciting, then, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of want to get I want to get the red light or green light from the label.
Yeah,
Before I launch something to the world, but maybe my impatience will show and pressure them into allowing us to do some sort of a debut with press and here's the new versus me just being like, hey, go to our band camp and here's the new song. That's cool, but
yeah, but word of
it's
mouth.
better.
Good.
So the reach costs money.
It does, and sometimes they reach. Some of those labels reach out to people, radio and press, and now podcasters, to that kind of thing. Whereas, then you have people like me who just reach out to bands they like, and
No, I mean, I really appreciate you for doing this. I've actually had a couple of other people reach out to me without, just people that have interviewed me in the past for different albums that just came to me rather than like go through the whole process of the label's press guy hitting people up to try to beg them to get the band an interview type thing.
yeah,
So
it's
that, like, that we don't fully need that process,
no, a lot
because
of
I
people reach out on their own too, you know.
yeah. So again, thank you. I appreciate this.
I want people to check out. We're gonna have all the links and everything also of your stuff to your album so they can be familiar with it. What is playing out in Texas like right now? Are shows open? Are they masking? What's going on? I mean, you guys, everything's bigger, larger there. Everyone's got really strong feelings in there, Texas. So
Texas is an intense place. It's always kind of been like cowboy country,
yeah,
so it's very open. I mean, like even in Austin it is, but within reason. I mean, some of the bigger box venues have vaccination or negative test result policies, and other venues are outside. There's a lot going. Yeah, I mean, not today. Obviously, you don't want to probably go out today, but typically in the winter time here is a great time to go outside and see a show. You get to put on your best coat and your best hat and go down and support your friends outside, or some of the venues are half inside half outside type thing, so it's a real patio friendly state, because the weather's typically pretty nice or pretty warm temperate climate. The summers get a bit hot, a bit extreme for a month or two, but if you can get past that, the rest of the year is a really nice place to be and see festivals and to go out and see shows at night. Just bar life is not lacking at all here. So I think as far as like what's happened with COVID, it's not as extreme as some places that where we have friends in Portland. We have friends in places that are really struggling to get their live music
Well, that's
to
why I was
to
curious. I figured Texas, and I think Florida are probably the most open, publicly open about the stance
yeah.
on it. So I was wondering how the music scene is, without being into the politics, where just like how much freedom do you guys get to play out if you want and make some cash, type of deal.
Yeah. I mean, we do have freedom. I mean, we try to be as responsible and respectful as we can to, the pandemic and everything. But if there's a way that we can do it safely, we're totally into
Good. I
playing.
mean, bands need to play. I feel bad for them. Artists need to make their cash. The road crews are the ones that are feeling it the most. Because they have no merch. They've got nothing to live off of.
I mean, granted, there's still been a lot of shows that we've wanted to see that have been canceled. You so I mean, I get it. Why should one place have the right to do this and another place not? But we're trying to find a middle ground here. I mean, we've all had COVID once, at
Okay.
least once. I've had it once that I know about, and it was mild, thankfully. And the guys in the band the same. It went around in I think we all finally got it in December.
When So you have a couple songs. When you're writing songs? Are you writing songs? Is it you and this guitar player? You play guitar? How are you the songwriting process? What are you guys doing?
I think this time around it always happens different because Asa and I have so many songs from years and years ago that we have that we can rework these songs for a decade to come. So we always have material. He's a great writer. And then the new guy that we brought in, his name's Adrian Arrowstone. um he's an unbelievable guitar player, and he happens to be a very good songwriter as well, which I think, not everybody's a good songwriter. Oftentimes you find cases in bands where it's like you don't want that many cooks in the kitchen that can all do that.
Yeah.
You got Beatles where everybody can write an album on their own, and there's a lot of egos involved and stuff like that.
Though that's cool. A
Everything's
lot of
very
bands too.
balanced.
You know what I mean? Sorry, I mean to step over you. There's a lot of bands where they, the guitar player will write the album, the first one, and he does great, and also the rest of the band sees royalties, and they're like, I want to write, and they're like, all right, but then the band's sound changes totally, and no one wants the album
No,
because there's
I've
a
been
sound
the
that people buy into when you first write.
exactly. I think it's really even. Like I like to keep it pretty reasonably democratic because, I mean, obviously the guys, like when they bring something to the table, it all happened. It's all happening differently. Some things are just happening. Some things, these guys write. Some things I write. And then when we bring it in and kind of bring it to the blender, it doesn't always work very easily. But right now, this is like I must emphasize that this is the best I've seen the band work, and the most productive, and the most with the most synergy. Everybody's like really uh quite pleasant around one another artistically, and we're friends, and everyone gets along right now. So we're doing, I mean, it's like lightning speed. We're just coming up with music.
Maybe a double
Very,
album.
yeah.
Everyone's been waiting
It
so long, right? Uh-huh.
some has been somebody that wants to get their song in and doesn't feel like they're getting it in, or I mean, I think something happens as you get older. I would like to think as well. There's more of a maturity of understanding one another and coming back and being like, guys, we've been in this band. Some of us have been in this band a long time. We kind of know the formula that works. These guys aren't going to like, they know I'm not going to be like sign on. I'm not going to sign off on something that doesn't have the feel and the vibe and the foundation that we've built, that we spent so long.
Yeah.
But we're able to explore these things because we're all interested in a lot more than just, the same formula that we've been writing. We're not going to write the same album over and over again. I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, you've had some time between two, so people are pretty hungry for whatever you release at this point, though. You know,
Yeah, and I mean, I hope, we can only
5 years
hope that.
now, right? 5, almost 6 years since your last album came out.
Yeah, I mean, we can only hope that it's accepted the same way that the other ones were. I think there's a certain power to the music now we're writing that I would think that we would get new fans as well. So,
I hope so. I would hope so. I'll have you back on and promote it when you do get an official album out. Keep spreading the word of you guys. Cool. All right, man. See
all
you soon.
right.
Good night. Bye.
Yeah, take care.